My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and this is for Guitarist TV. I got with me a longtime friend of mine, Jeff Ellis. Jeff, it's honestly been a while since I last talked to you, but I got to tell you, just this year we started doing these Zoom interviews, and they've been a truckload of fun. And while I was thinking of guests, your Facebook page popped up for Frampton Comes Alive, and I can't tell you, I was looking at the videos and just the visuals and all the photos, how excited I got. I want to ask you, would you consider this a tribute band, a tribute act? How would you define this?
Yeah, we're looking. So the whole gist of it is obviously the wife and I had been talking about doing it for some time now, right? And my Journey band Escape was really busy, last year and the year before. After COVID, passed on, we were playing quite a bit, and it was always in the back of our minds to do it. And then once we heard that Peter Frampton's, his touring was starting to slow down, and then we heard about his disease that he had, and that he wouldn't be touring anymore. He's just going to do one-offs, right? I kind of wanted to capture what he'd done in the past, like the old school Peter Frampton. And I've always been a Peter Frampton fan, and I can tell you stories as we get into it and stuff when I was a kid and a child and stuff too as well. So, as far as, the rest of the band goes, what I wanted to do was I wanted to surround myself with obviously good musicians, right? That could play the parts, because we're really trying to capture Frampton Comes Alive as what it was, exactly what it was. Because, like if you look at a lot of Frampton concerts, he never played anything the same. You know what I mean? Like all his guitar solos, all his riffs, his scales and everything were completely different. He just wanted to fly off and he'd play a couple melody lines here and there, right? In the talk box as well. And so I really wanted to capture that essence of that tour and that album, note for note. And so I've got basically two bands just in case this blows up, because everybody's so busy doing the tribute things. Everybody's in different bands, right? So I've kind of doubled up with a couple of guys from Escape. So if we ever had Escape gigs, right, with Journey, that kind of genre was almost, even though Frampton was a little bit before, it was kind of the same genre. We could double up and do back-to-back gigs, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, what's interesting about Peter Frampton, especially Frampton Comes Alive, I mean, if you go back to 1976, I mean, he really captured a moment with that album. I mean, I don't know what it was, but when people think of Peter Frampton, that's the album. I mean, this is the album we're talking about. And prepping for this, I was listening to this the other day, and actually one of the songs that I didn't realize. I mean, what a great song, Doobie Wah. I mean, that's not one of those songs you hear all the time on the radio. I thought, wow, that's quite different.
Yeah, it's really weird too, because when I started going back, obviously we learned like the hits first, right? And then I started listening to the album. I go, oh, I remember that song. Oh, that was a cool song too, right? And never really realized until I got back into it. But the Facebook, the Instagram, all the reaction, it's more like a lot more guys, because everybody had that album, right? That was the time where we all went to our friend's house and we just sat around and smoked what we wanted to smoke or whatever may have you. But we listened to albums and looked at album covers and stuff.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm total old school. I miss the days of going to Tower Records and spending all day. And the thing with Peter Frampton is kind of interesting, because a lot of people don't even realize before he, had the success with Frampton Comes Alive as a solo artist, he was in Humble Pie, but nobody really talks about his Humble Pie days. They talk about Frampton Comes Alive.
Exactly. And by the way, that's one of our encore songs. We're gonna do Don't Need No Doctor.
Oh wow!
So that's gonna be really cool, because that's what Frampton kind of did too at the end of his set. Like it's really weird. Like you say, like everybody focused on Frampton's Comes Alive and that album, because if you listen to like the studio versions of the songs, they weren't much. The recordings weren't all that great, and it was just kind of didn't have that whole thing, that live vibe that Frampton Comes Alive had. And then as his bands progressed, obviously his band got better, right? Because he got better musicians. Obviously Bob Mayo stayed with him, and he was the key ingredient to Frampton Comes Alive too. The guy was just fantastic. It's too bad that he passed away. But a great singer, a great guitar player, a great keyboard player. And they were like this. They were like buddies, as you know.
Wow. Yeah, and I don't know why it is. What really excited me when your Frampton Comes Alive page popped up before, on my screen the other night when I was, when I contacted you about doing this.
Yeah.
I immediately thought, I can't think of another Frampton tribute out there, at least the general Los Angeles area, or really anywhere in the United States.
Right.
And I'm like, the question is, why? Why do you think that is?
Yeah. It's okay. Well, for one, and I'm not, I don't want to pat myself on the back because I'm a modest guy anyway. But it takes that certain persona, right? You got to grasp that that vocal style a little bit, because he really wasn't that great of a singer. He had his own style, right? But his timbre, his vibrato was very very basic, right? And I've got more operatic training, so I've got a lot of vibrato in my voice I got to kind of get rid of to match that kind of. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to play guitar and sing at the same time, right? Which I've done for years anyway. So it takes that certain kind of person. And I think, as we talked about it before, me and the wife, about doing this, we always thought it'd be a great idea. And then once we found out Frampton wasn't going to tour anymore, I go, well, this could really blow up. And the response we've got online is just incredible. It's like people from Michigan, from Texas, from Arizona, all over the place. When are you coming here? Because Frampton's not touring anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm hoping to fill that gap.
Yeah,
you know?
And as you know, Jeff, I've been a big time supporter of a tribute scene for years, and I like to call it, rock and roll theater. And this is a good example of that. I mean, I love to go see a tribute band that, they got the songs down, but it's really fun when they get dressed up and they look like, like in your case, you're looking like, I could swear it's 1976. I'm looking at Peter Frampton.
That's great.
What goes into that? I mean, because again, I look on your Facebook page, and I know you guys haven't even played a gig yet, but I want to just I posted a video like that you posted up there of you kind of practicing and getting ready and doing your thing. And it's like great advertisement, by the way. I'm like, you look the part, you sound good. I want to go see it,
Thanks. Yeah. There's a lot to do, because obviously when, playing with the Escape band and the Journey band, when I learned the whole Neil Sean act and stuff like that and chasing his tone and everything, Frampton's like a whole 180, right? The old Marshall Plexi sound from 1976. And a lot of people didn't know, but he used to get that whirly-bird tone. He used to have real Leslie's backstage, like keyboard Leslie's, and he'd have those things rotating, and he'd have a mic backstage, right? Yeah. And so chasing that kind of tone, and then obviously with the talk box and everything else. But I've been playing the Marshall JVM for years, and it's got 12 different channels, so I can dial that tone in. And then obviously I've got a pedal that does the same thing the Leslie's used to do, but people didn't know that. He'd actually have it on his rider that wherever he toured at, they would rent him and have him backstage so he could get that tone and stuff. So I think, we talked about it, and the guys that I got in the band, I've got some local guys that are kind of like my second string. I've got a couple of guys from the Escape band, my drummer and my keyboard player, that are helping me out doing it too. So just kind of like Escape, like the singer and Neil Sean are the focal point, right?
Yeah.
So this band, obviously Frampton is the focal point. Other than Bob Mayo, nobody really knew who anybody was. Yeah, so I'm not really super concerned about the other guys dressing up. I mean, obviously they are going to dress up to look that whole 70s vibe with the bell-bottom pants and everything, right? But as far as the wigs and the look and stuff like that, it's the focus is going to be on Peter Frampton. So that's kind of what I'm just trying to mimic, that old sign. And Conchetta bought me an old 1976 tour jacket that's got the rainbow colors on the wrist, and it says Frampton Comes Alive, and it says opening Gary Wright on the tour. Wow. I've got that to wear too. So it's going to be fun. I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, and I know you already got 2 gigs lined up. One at the Gas Lamp in Long Beach is literally down the street from where I live, so I'll probably be going catch that one. I know you have one coming up, I believe, in San Diego after that. Yeah, and I believe one's the Gas Lamp. Both bands are playing. How excited!
Yeah, it's going to be cool. All I have to do is change outfits, and all my rig and stuff will still be the same, so I can leave it set up. It's really cool.
Yeah, and talk a bit about the guitar or the talk box, because when we were preparing to do the interview the other night. Get this set up. You were telling me that's been a little thing, but you've had to really kind of learn.
Yeah. I have to compare it up to almost like learning how to sing and play guitar at the same time, right? Because it's the same aspect. So when I started working with it, I found myself, because I'm really just like my Neil Sean, I'm trying to play everything note for note.
Yeah, yeah.
Same bends, same everything, right? And so what he does with his bends on the talk box, I find myself not opening my mouth and doing the mouth thing at the same time. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll learn the guitar parts first. And then what I'll do is I'll play with the talk box and play the guitar parts without worrying about what my mouth's doing and just
Yeah,
let
yeah.
it come through the microphone. So that's what I did. Then I started listening to his nuances, how he'd open his mouth, close his mouth, and stick it on the side of his gums so we get that kind of throaty sound and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. I mean, all the guys in the band say they really can't believe how much it sounds like Peter Frampton. So I guess I'm doing it right. But
And you look the part, which is it's all like the whole package, and you seem
yeah,
to have it down, and so right now I know you got the two shows, but and you're hearing from all kinds of states, different states. I mean, so
yeah.
is that kind of the hope and the dream with this, to take this to?
Yeah, it really is. And I think, I've just got to be patient because,
Sure. Yeah.
nothing happens overnight. It's just
Sure.
like when the Journey thing started and the White Snake thing I was doing, that started too. And, I've got good representation with my wife and the company that she works for, Avenue of the Stars. So they're working on getting me gigs at the Hemet Theater with a Pat Benatar tribute band. So I think, even if I do like double bills and stuff for right now, I think that's fine, because what I really need to do is I need to get a live setting and a live video for my EPK,
Yeah,
because that's what the promoters look for.
I think it's going to be a trip for people to see where you're playing a double bill. Maybe some of the people won't be aware till they're at the concert and they're kind of, wait a minute, it looks like the guy who was just in the Frampton band.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of the musicians will catch it, because it's like, how could you have two left-handed guitar players in two separate bands and be different people? That would be really an odd sensation. So I think, and a lot of my friends like yourself and everybody, you guys all know me, so it's not going to be a surprise to a lot of different people. But I'm looking forward to it, because I get to do a different shtick one time and be the lead vocalist, and I really want to interact with the crowd and get people to sing like Baby I Love Your Way and Show Me the Way, all the people that know those songs. And one of my dear favorites is Lines on My Face, where he says my family and friends, and I'm going to try to say the same things in between songs like he did too, because like you referenced Doobie Wah, right? Because he says on the album, he goes, we're going to get a little bit funky now. This is something called Doobie Wah, stuff like that, and try to mimic what he says. So
even those little nuances, like, are you gonna like when you're talking between songs, like try to like talk with an accent and just kind of, or just
I'm gonna do the whole deal and stuff. This is an oldie but goodie. It's cold. It's a plain shame, stuff like that. I'll introduce the song, and then I'll go into my own stick of talking about my personal experiences with Peter Frampton I was growing up with as a kid, and then dive right back into the moment of being Peter Frampton. So it's going to be kind of cool, like he's got a lot of cool stories. Like, when he was younger in his 20s, he was playing with George Harrison, doing studio work with George Harrison. And he was at George's house one day, and he was in his studio, and he found an acoustic guitar on the wall, and he picked the acoustic guitar off and he started strumming it, and it was a really weird tuning. And what it was an open D with the A string and the E string dropped down to D2, right? So it was this really solid open chording. And Peter said to George, this is really cool. I really like this. And George says, yeah, you can play it, and I'll let you hang out and play the guitar and stuff and the tuning and stuff, but don't steal it. And what does he do? He writes Winds of Change, the first song on his album, that in that same tuning and stuff like that. So little stories like that, I think will go over cool with the crowd.
And knowing what I know about you and your career, Jeff, thus far is, I imagine from the time you came up with this idea for Frampton Comes Alive, it's been quite a while from the thought of it to kind of getting it down to where you are now, even like just getting the songs down, getting the costumes, getting, before you even think about doing the first show,
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I'm blessed. I have a studio in the back of my house, so I can practice quite a bit without my wife flying off the handle, right? And it was basically, I figured if I started putting my feelers out there to find people to actually support me, because my drummer in Escape, he really wanted to do it, and then my keyboard player really wanted to do it, but those guys playing Rolling Stones tribute, Rod Stewart tribute, they're always busy, right? So I got to get some backup. So I started putting my feelers out there. In the meantime, I figured, you know, if I give myself a couple months to really learn the songs and learn the progressions and learn the solos note for that album, by the time I get players involved and by the time they learn the songs and then we can come to rehearse, it should all format at the same time. And it really did. I mean, I've already rehearsed with the guys locally like 3 or 4 times, and I've rehearsed with the guys in Escape up in North Hollywood a couple of different times. So one band's ahead of the other, but we're at the point now where we've gone through the structure of the songs, got them down. Now we're starting to work on choreography and the set list, how it's going to flow into each song, and then just polishing parts. So
Yeah.
like I said, we're looking at doing some other local gigs around here too, some one-offs when they get through. But like I said, it's really going to help once I get a live setting on videotape that I can really sell the band.
Yeah, because I mean, even the video on the Facebook page, I mean, it's a good advertisement because and it's very professionally shot, you know, and
Yeah,
and you know, you've always had your finger on the pulse of of the scene or music, I guess. And what I mean by that is, before you formed a Whitesnake tribute, which at the time I believe was called Burn,
yeah,
there had never really been a single Whitesnake tribute anywhere in the United States, and that I could think of. They had a couple, of course, in Europe because they're a little bigger
yeah,
in Europe now, but I could never figure out why. And then, of course, after you formed Burn, a couple other Whitesnake tributes popped up, but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with this. I go, well, we'll do a short EPK and just promote it a little bit, but we wanted to wait. We didn't want to promote anything too early or
yeah,
spread the word. Like we've been talking this, like you said, for like 4 or 5 months, and then going through the process of learning everything. But we didn't want to say anything because we didn't want somebody else to jump on the bandwagon too, even though it takes quite a bit of effort to put something like this together and
for sure.
have somebody that can really pull it off. But there's the bazillion Journey bands, there's a bazillion Van Halen bands and stuff. And I think this is probably going to be a kind of its own. It would take
Yeah.
quite a bit to
But
follow
even
it.
your Journey band, I mean, Escape, like you said, there's a ton of other Journey tributes, but
Yeah.
you guys are one of the premier Journey tributes, I dare say, out in the Los Angeles area. And the thing is, even if Frampton Comes Alive, if that does happen, other Frampton tributes pop up. The thing you can say is, well, I was ahead of the game. I'm the one. These other bands they came after. We
Yeah.
kind of set the standard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like I said, I'm really trying. Why I called it Frampton Comes Alive, obviously, because I wanted to capture that moment. That was what we were going for. Those songs, the way they were played, the way the solos were played, the way he sang those songs, and of course, everybody had the album, so everybody's going to remember that.
And so when people
So
come to see Frampton Comes Alive, I'm assuming from what you told me over the phone the other day that it's kind of like you guys performing this album. I mean, I don't know that you guys are necessarily going to perform like any of his earlier hits before that because, like you're saying, a lot of people didn't buy those records, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're trying to play the hits, and then obviously, like a lot of the songs on the album, like you said, like Doobie Wah and Lines on My Face, one of my favorite songs to play or listen to. And then, of course, like Do You Feel Like We Do and stuff like that. We're playing it all note for note. My keyboard player, he's got like the solos down to Baby I Love Your Way. He's a tab guy, so he can read
Yeah,
music.
I love that.
And
Baby, I love your way.
he's got it like down. And then and then I'm gonna do like a short acoustic set in the middle, right?
Wow.
So I'll play Wind of Change. And then Penny for Your Thoughts was actually not Penny for Your Thoughts. It was actually about a girl named Penny that
Oh,
he knew
wow.
back then. And that's how, and I'll go into that story too when we play too. And then I'll do that. And then I'll do All I Want to Be Is By Your Side because he actually had that on the album as playing it with a band. But then when he played it, Frampton Comes Alive, he played it acoustic. So I'm going to play that acoustic and then I'll keep my acoustic on and then we'll go right into Baby I Love Your Way. And that'll be the whole band coming back up and then I'll play the
And I
acoustic on
imagine
that.
Jumpin' Jack Flash is in there too. I mean, that's a
Yeah, that's been we talked about it and stuff like that, and my bass player brought it up. We haven't learned it yet, but it's just I mean it's a Stone song that everybody knows,
yeah,
so
yeah,
a piece
yeah.
of cake to learn. But
Um, do you feel like we do? I mean, that's a great. To me, it's a great way to end the show. It's a great anthem, great way to bring the band and
yeah,
the audience together.
yeah, you called it. That's the last song in the set, and then we'll come back on for an encore and do Don't Need No Doctor.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
What a true tribute. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but you've been doing the tribute thing for years. I know because you're so good at. It, but I think when I first hooked up with you years ago and started interviewing, didn't you have an original band called The Cause?
yeah, Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that evolved. It's weird how that evolved. I mean, when it was popular, because we had a distribution deal for a while with a record company, and they were flying us out to like Rocklahoma, and we were doing the big shows, and then that gave us enough momentum to open up for all the hair bands down here, like the Galaxy Theater and the bigger theaters and stuff. But it just got to a point where you get so excited to play, and you play for 35 minutes, right? Because you're opening up for somebody. I knew it really wasn't going to go anywhere, just like the way new music doesn't go anywhere.
Put that out there so people know that, because see, that's the thing. Like I said, I support the tribute scene for many years, and a lot of people have a misconception of, people that play in tribute bands, they're playing other people's music, they're a failed musician, but that's not really the point. I mean, especially in your case too. Like I'm just kind of putting it out there. This is a guy that he did do the original music thing, but let's be honest. I mean, it's a lot easier if you can have success in a tribute band like you've been able to do with, for example, Escape, and you go out there and play the song, because part of it is people are going to hear songs that they grew up on. It's a soundtrack to their lives. And and like it or not, it's maybe a little is a little easier to get gigs doing that than it is doing your own original thing. Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously the following's there because everybody loves those bands, and the demographic for Journey is huge, right?
Sure.
So we're playing places, we're playing for 1,000 people, and then we go out to West Virginia and we're playing at these big concerts in the park where there's like 5, 6, 7,000 people. It's huge. And they're paying you to fly out there. And the best part about it, really, Jason, to tell you the truth, is, I mean, obviously I love playing, and we get to play, an hour and a half set. And it's more of a show, obviously, right, than playing in a cover band where people are dancing till 1 o'clock in the morning. But not only that, is we're getting paid to do what we love to do, but then we get to go out to these different cities and meet different people and see different hospitality and see Niagara Falls that I've never seen before, and get paid to do it. So it's just that whole experience. I'm so humbled to be able to do that. And I figured, all the dues that I paid early on, I'm kind of glad I really didn't get a record deal and try to chase that dream and not make it big and not be able to go into a construction career where I'd be able to make enough money to support my family, raise my family. Now I'm at a point where now I can do this and get paid good money for it, still work at the same time and enjoy it.
And how many people can do what they love to do, and that's what it's all about. I mean, and I was just curious, by any chance, if people were to go on YouTube, is any of that music up there, that you did with the Cause? People wanted to.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, if you type the Cause Band or anything like that, YouTube, you'll see like old shows of us playing with Skid Row and Warrant and Y&T and all those bands. Yeah, I mean, they're still up there.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, and like you said, you paid your dues, and it's amazing because I put that out there just so people know. You're a guy that you could write original music if you wanted, but you're great at what you do, so why not do it?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I really, Jason, I really did it after I raised my kids and stuff. And I did it just to have my music on a CD. I just wanted to have my original stuff, so I can have it for later on and listen to and share it with my kids and grandkids and everything else. And then my wife, she gets on the internet and starts throwing it out to all these people and go, hey, we want to do a distribution deal. We want to do a distribution deal. So that prompted us to obviously do these concerts with these bands and stuff like that. And it was fun and everything. But like I said, it was so much work. You're selling tickets and you're not making any money doing it. Not that I really needed the money. I really wanted to play my original music and travel and do it. But it's just a whole different market nowadays, as you know.
See, Journey, both the Journey band, Escape, and Frampton Comes Alive, I think too, those are two acts that can play with like a number of other tribute acts. I mean, you could just as easily play with a Queen tribute as you could maybe a Aerosmith tribute. So there's a lot of things you guys can go out of there and do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally looking forward to it. I can't wait. And like I said, I think the authenticity of this band and the sound, I think people are going to be pleased with it, because I mean, even when I started my first rehearsal with these guys, it's like, I'm like, did they do their homework? I mean, did they really learn it? And we came together and it's like, we played, I think Show Me the Way was the first song we played. I'm like, man, I got to record this. Sounds like the album, man. It's like everybody's got their tones right and everything, and the dynamics of how Frampton got loud and came back down, and it just I go, and then like after the fourth practice, I mean, now we're just running through the song, just polishing parts, and it just sounds Sounds so cool, man. I'm
When,
so
when you
excited.
guys are learning these and like that, did you have to go back and listen to the record, or did you kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
came out right back?
You know, actually, to tell you the truth, just so I can get the guys used to like the tempos of the songs and stuff, what I do is in the rehearsal studio is we play to the tracks. We play to Frampton Comes Alive,
Wow,
and we'd
wow.
have the music up with the same level as we were, so we could just play to it. And then that we did that for like the whole first rehearsal, like three
Yeah,
hours of just rehearsing right to the record. And then the second rehearsal, we did it a little bit, like halfway through it, and then we played it live. And it's amazing how much that helped, you know. And
yeah,
then I keep the recorder because being a drummer and a bass player and everything else, I kind of know where the little nuances are, and then I'll
yeah,
stop and go, no, wait, listen to it here. He did this one drum fill here. So I wanted the guys just to get the structure of the songs down first. Then we start diving into polishing the little parts. So it's
yeah.
really super authentic, all the way down to my buddy Bruce. He says, well, when you guys play Wind to Change, when you do the acoustic version, is somebody going to light off a firecracker before the pre-chorus?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? So just kind of little stuff like that. It should be cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so, you look the part. Like I swear, I'm looking at Peter Frampton. Like, how long did it take you to kind of get the look down where you felt, okay, this is it?
Oh, it's been like an everyday thing. I mean, we've been working with you know, different makeup,
Yeah,
different hair, different stuff, and everything to try to get it. It never fails. It's like whatever guitar player I'm going to try to portray, he always has the hardest hair to find. Right, like Neil Sean's hair. Remember when he started? He had the big fro,
yeah,
like
yeah,
back in the late '70s, and then his hair was different. It was more frizzy and got a little bit longer, and then now it's shorter and stuff. And then the certain texture of it, and like Frampton's hair was like that surfer kind of curly,
yeah, yeah,
like textured hair, you know. And actually, believe it or not, I mean, for people that are going to watch this and stuff, obviously know that I lost my hair a long time ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is actually the wig that I used for the Whitesnake tribute. I
Oh
just cut
wow,
it
yeah,
shorter and layered it and curled it a little bit
yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah. John Sykes, Peter
John's
Frampton,
like,
right before,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And it's amazing because too, when people think of Peter Frampton, that's one of the first things they think of is the beautiful long hair. But I remember the
Yeah.
'90s when he came back and he was all bald, and you're like, oh, he looks different. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he toured with Bowie, remember? And he
yeah,
had his
yeah,
hair
yeah,
like pulled back in a ponytail and like the mullet cut a little bit. It
yeah,
was just
yeah,
totally different. Yeah.
yeah. And he's finally at a place in life where unfortunately he's suffering with his illness or whatever. But and I
Yeah.
think that's he's not going to be doing too many shows like you said. But at least he's ending on a pot because I remember for years, after the did that movie, The Beatles' Lonely Hearts Club,
Yeah.
his career just went down and people weren't buying the records or anything. And like you said, thanks
Yeah.
to David Bowie, he had a nice comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then he did Frampton Comes Alive too. But it was just, yeah, his whole look was so different and stuff like that. And like you were saying before, just people remember that live album so much and that whole era and his whole look back in there. And that's what we're
yeah, it's
definitely trying
amazing.
to
When I
capture.
think of some of the great live albums, I mean, probably top three on my list would have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
this one, It's Alive. Obviously, another great one is Cheap Trick live at Budokan.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
you've ever heard the original studio version of "I Want You to Want Me."
Yeah.
It sounds like a kind of swampy country songs, and
Yeah.
what they did on Budokan, I mean, it sounds like a completely different track.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. That's exactly like Frampton. He did the same thing. All the studio songs just are so blah and boring, and there's the even like his guitar tone and everything. It just everything when Frampton Comes Alive, it came alive. I mean, it's his whole band sounded great, and um, his guitar tone. And I think even I saw an article with Steve Stevens and said just how incredible back then the recording was and how Frampton's tone was back then and stuff. And coming from a guy like that, that's pretty
You
good
you
compliment.
put the record on it, and you almost it sounds like you're there.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're in the audience, and it sounds that like it's in your face. And
yeah,
all the totally great live albums, kind of have that sound. Even people are surprised, like Kiss Alive one. They went back and they touched up in the studio supposedly, but you know what? I don't care. It sounds like to me. Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah, even like when he does his acoustic songs, you can hear people like talking and yelling and screaming in the background and stuff. It's just that like you said, like you feel like you're there.
yeah.
It's awesome, man.
And
Can't
so
wait.
Jeff, I know obviously for rehearsal purposes, you film your practice and stuff and do the ads for this. But have you ever thought of like filming a show? I mean, I imagine you'd have to get licensing and stuff to do that, but like putting out a DVD or even posting something, for people to.
Yeah, we talked about it in Escape, like for Journey and stuff like that. Our singer really wanted to do it, but it's kind of like the same thing with like when you're promoting yourself or you're putting together an EPK, right? It's like how much attention span do people really have to listen to a full live DVD of a band, of a tribute band?
They can go online and see it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even like our videos and stuff like that, we try to just do like bits and pieces, because even like our EPKs and like the video you saw for Frampton, it's just little bits and pieces to kind of touch on everything he did, right? Because like for the talent buyers and people out there, like, people like nowadays, like instant gratification, they'll watch it for a couple minutes or whatever and 30 seconds. Oh, that's cool. Well, let's listen to the next one.
Yeah,
or let's listen to the next one. Yeah.
I was even telling somebody I was interviewing the other day, you're lucky if, as far as, releasing new music, if people will even play this, we could go on YouTube, they'll even play the whole song out. They'll listen to a few minutes and on to the next song.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly my point.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to film, though. We're going to do some live filming for sure, because we want to get the crowd response and everything in there, and then put it into our EPK so we can throw it to talent buyers too as well.
Talk about the electric press kit. Who shot that? Because like I said, it looks very professional. I think any booking agencies that go or promoters go and look at that, they're going to be like, yeah, this is a band we want to give them a call.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it was, you'd be surprised, because it was a combination of a couple different things. So we had one person lined up to do it and we couldn't get a hold of him to do it. So like 2 days before, we started putting feelers out there for somebody to come and do a live video shoot. I already had the place rented out and everything to do it. And got a couple responses from a couple different people. And then this one guy called me and he goes, you know what? I've got an opening. And I think it was the day before Christmas, I think. And he didn't have anything done yet. And he goes, you know what? I think I can make it. And this guy had a rig that he put on this belt, and it had this overhead thing that came around the top of his head. And then the camera was up here, and it was all shock absorber. So like when you walked around, it wouldn't bounce around. He looked like a robot almost. But like the Super 8 camera, so it looks like it's like TV, and he had all the great equipment. He brought big umbrella lights in, so we'd have the lighting in there. And the combination with that, he filmed like 2 different sections of each song. Like he had a camera in the back, and then he had his one where he's going around and filming us up close, right? And then once my wife got a hold of it, she's the one that put all the effects and blended everything in together. So did a great job.
Yeah.
So I got to give kudos to my wife. She's the one that basically made it look the way it looked. And I think all in all, I think for the condenser mics that we used and stuff, the sound was okay, but we couldn't really take it somewhere and have it mixed, because I think the guitar could have been a little bit hotter on some parts and stuff like that. So that's why I'm really excited to get the live version done.
I think it serves a purpose. I mean,
exactly.
I don't think maybe because you're such a professional as far as producer musicianship, that you can hear it, but to the common person, they're not going to recognize that.
Yeah, and the talent buyers, for what we're using it for, and the promoters and stuff like that, they're going to look at it for 15 seconds and go, okay, cool, that's what we're looking for, or that'll work. They're not going to care about how loud the guitar is, or that guy's keyboards were too loud, or the drums weren't loud enough. They don't give a crap about that. So it fits its purpose.
Well, Jeff, I really want to thank you for doing this today. And you're invited. You're welcome back here anytime to do this. Anytime you want to promote any of your bands, feel free. And I'm all about promoting what you guys are doing. And I plan to go catch the show in May, because like I said, I live literally 5 minutes down the street.
Awesome. So, much appreciated for your time too, Jason, too. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's not so far in between interviews, but thanks for doing it. I can't tell you how excited I am. You have a good rest of the night. Tell Consetta I said hello.
Cool. You too, man. Peace.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye. Bye now.